Yeah, well, thanks everybody for joining. So there we go. Yeah, welcome to this evening's session of the Maidstone Kent Digital Meetup, hosted by myself and the team at Supersonic Playground. For those of you who might not know us, Supersonic Playground, we're a web design agency, WordPress specialist web design agency, and we focus on transforming your online presence. I'm Rich Dean, I'm the founder and creative director, and I'm joined tonight by Chantel, who's our internal marketing executive, Lindsay, who's our client success manager, and we've also got Ashley, who's one of our designers. Those guys will be helping me in the background make sure that the event runs smoothly. So tonight's topic, as you may have guessed, is creative writing. And we've got some really great speakers lined up for you later. First up at 6 p.m, we're going to be hearing from Francesca from And So She Thinks. And Francesca's topic is going to be creative writing for business purposes. We'll then have a short break at 6:25, so we can all stretch our legs and grab a drink for 10 minutes. And we'll then reconvene at 6:35, and we'll be then joined by Ben from Sleeping Giant Media and the Spark Agency. And Ben's topic is going to be how to write effectively yet creatively. We'll be saving questions until the end of the presentations, just to ensure that we break on time. So please, any questions you might have, please just hold on to them until after we've heard from Francesca and Ben. As always, we'd really love to hear from your feedback. So if you could take 2 minutes just to complete a short survey at some point during the meeting. There's an online link that Chantel is going to be putting into the chat very shortly, probably imminently. Before we get started this evening, if you're new to one of our KDMs, or if you didn't come to our last one, we're going to do like a little introduction section. So we'll go around the virtual room and give everybody the chance to tell us a little bit about who you are, where you work, what you do, and what brings you here today. And once we've done that, we'd like to invite you to leave your contact details in the chat following your intro, just so that everybody here gets the chance to sort of say who they are and introduce yourself, your business, what you do. So I'm going to go around my screen now. I'm going to say your name. If you could just unmute and tell me a little bit more about yourself. I'm going to start with top left corner of my screen, which is Chantel from our team.
Hi, so obviously some of you have already met me before, marketing at Supersonic Playground, but primarily for you guys, if anybody is interested in speaking at an event, please drop me an email, because we would love to have you on board. I mean, you guys attend these events regularly, but it would be really nice if you got involved and got some exposure for your business as well. So my email will be up on the screen later, but I'll pop it in the chat as well.
Cool, thanks Chantel. Next in my screen is Ben Abbott from Sleeping Giant and Spark.
Hi guys, so some of you already know me from kind of just meeting previously really. I joined Sleeping Giant Media back in November, and I've joined to help launch the Spark Agency. So we'll hear a little bit more about that in the talk a bit later, but yeah, nice to see you all again, I guess.
Cool, thanks Ben. Lindsay, top right of my corner.
Hey everyone, I joined Supersonic in November, so coincidence there, Ben. And I've been brought on board to support with the client relationships, client building, building those relationships, making sure the clients get the best experience possible with us and the team, and that they actually get what they want and what they need.
Thanks, Lindsay. Next, Francesca.
Hello, so I'm Francesca. I'm a copywriter, marketer and PR, so all things sort of words and comms, and I'm going to be having a chat about creative writing for business purposes and what you can do.
Thanks, Francesca. Ashley from our team.
So my internet connection cut out. Are we introducing each other?
Yes, we are, Martin. That's right. Okay. Yeah, just we're going to go around the room. Everyone can just say who you are, where you're from, what you work, who you work for, and what you do. So, yeah, I'll come to you very, very shortly. So, yeah, Ashley from our team.
Yes, I'm Ashley. I work for Supersonic, and I do some of the design work.
Thank you, Ashley. Elaine.
Hello, I'm Elaine Evans. I'm actually an image consultant and beautician. I trained at Elizabeth Arden. I worked in their Bond Street salon, and I've also trained with Callamy Beautiful too. So I'm working hopefully with, in the future, with videographers, photographers, anybody who deals with events and wedding organisers too, hypnotherapists, fitness experts. So, you know, that's basically what I specialise in, actually helping people to look their best and make them feel better about themselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Brian Wakefield.
Thanks very much, Rich. Hi, everyone. It's Brian Wakefield. I run BBN. BBN is a networking group. It's a series of fortnightly business breakfast networking meetings, all based in Kent, for Kent business people. 3 groups at the moment. And yeah, Brian Wakefield, BBN networking group.
Thanks, Brian. Lila Dowie, sorry.
So one of the only people who often pronounces it right, so thank you, Rich.
Almost.
Hello, I'm obviously Lila from Demelza Children's Hospice. Mainly we work with companies in lots of ways. It used to be probably much more traditionally workplace kind of fundraising and kind of giving or volunteering or staff initiatives. Obviously that's changed a bit over the last year in particular, but we're still very open to that, and I think we've got a nice, you know, part in charity. I think there's very much a part to play in kind of team building and morale and things like that, and bringing people together even when they're apart. And we're obviously still interested in looking at how we kind of look at, might be gifts in kind, volunteering, you know, really thinking about business benefits for different companies across our patch, which is obviously all of Kent, obviously a very vast but brilliant kind of business region, really. So maybe.
Thanks, Lila. Simon Fry.
Hi, yeah, I'm new to this. So I'm Simon Fry. I'm a director at an electronics company based in Ashford. We make our main products are metal detectors and pipe and cable locators. We've got a few product launches coming up, which we need to write or produce collateral for, and we're trying to relaunch our website. So I'm interested in all things digital at the moment.
Fantastic. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Linda Garcia.
Hello, good evening. Lots of new faces tonight. I haven't been for a while, so it's good to see you. Linda Garcia, my business is Luxite Consulting Limited. I'm a business consultant and productivity specialist specifically. So I work with all you ambitious business owners on optimizing the productivity of the existing resources that you've got working in your business to maximize the profitability. I have a whole toolkit of business management systems, system design, process design, and I combine that with the tactical learning how to manage and supervise staff, especially for people who are just sort of building on their, you know, micro or small businesses. Bringing a couple of employees into the business isn't always easy. So I bring in the technical expertise of how to run and manage and administer the business together with the leadership and management skills to get the best out of your people.
Thank you. Tom Chan, please.
Thanks, Rich. Hi, everyone. Thanks very much for this evening. I think this is the second one of your Maidstone events that I've managed to make it along to. And I did manage to make it to the Ashford one, I think was last month, which was arranged by Aaron. I run a video production company here in Tunbridge Wells, so West Kent, bit of an interloper, but it's so much easier to attend one of these things now it's online. So that's great. But yeah, we make videos and animations for companies of all sizes, not just in Kent, further afield as well. And I'm very much looking forward to this evening's presentations. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for joining. Martin Jewis, please.
Evening, everyone. I'm Martin. I run the Familiar. We're a human-centered design and tech consultancy. So we do things like building websites. We also do prototyping, using design sprints to help clients solve problems and answer big questions, things like that. So all around sort of design and digital and tech.
Cool. Thanks, Martin. Thanks for coming. Rihanna Patterson, would you like to talk about your business, what you do?
Yeah, for sure. So hi, everyone. I work at ReapSource, and we're a tech company based in Chatham. And we basically provide consultancy services. And we're currently working with the Kickstart program to kind of onboard young people and get them into various tech and marketing roles.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rihanna. Thanks for coming. Sarah T, would you like to tell us about your business, what you do?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from Calibre Cleaning, based in Ashford.
Ah, one of our clients.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm the operations coordinator, but I do look after all the marketing as well. This is my first digital meetup, and I saw the event come through on my invite, and here I am.
Thanks for coming, Sarah. Good to see you.
Thank
And
you.
Justin, you've joined just at the end there. Do you want to tell us about your business and what you do?
2 seconds. I've just got to find how to. There we go. I'm Justin, obviously. I'm sort of representing Margate Bookie Literary Festival. I do a lot of the content and social media for that kind of thing. So just I got invited by Francesca, and I thought, come along and say hello.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks everyone for coming. So yeah, a good sense of people here today to learn about creative copywriting. Some wanting to obviously probably do it themselves. Some looking to kind of probably provision that. So that's really good to know. So yeah, okay, excellent. Well, look, we're a bit ahead of schedule, but let's just jump straight into it. So I'm going to hand over to Francesca from And So She Thinks. And Francesca, I'll let you start your presentation. So I'll stop sharing my screen now and pass over to you.
Fantastic. Lovely to see you all. I'm having such a good day. I saw my little sister for the first time in 4 months, and I have my first jab, and I'm doing a presentation. So this is all awfully exciting. Let me just figure out how to share my screen. Here we go. So words matter. I'm a copywriter, so of course I'm going to say that. I'm going to do my sales pitch, but they really do. They are how you communicate to customers, stakeholders, employees. They're how customers experience your product. They're essentially what sell you, because they rouse people to action. And all words have the ability to make people think something, feel something, and do something. So whether that's your website, whether that's a letter, an advert, a speech, one of those things might be the first contact a potential client has with your company. So the words have to be really great. You only get one chance to create the right impression, and you've got to be purposeful in your words. So letter, advert, tweet, Facebook post, email, web copy, investing in the words that you use is really important. We tend to kind of put creativity in one box and then business communication in another. And, whether we're earning a living from our writing or writing for business or engaging with corporate clients, sometimes involvement with transactions makes you sort of suck the life out of words and takes away all the creativity. But I really think it doesn't have to be this way. And all comms, all writing should evoke some kind of reaction, whether that's educational, informative, entertaining, emotive. And that can't happen unless there's a bit of passion behind the words. So that's creativity, some life. And it can be so easy to stick to the same formulas and language, but this doesn't benefit you in the long run, doesn't benefit the client, and it makes things a little bit dull and boring. So what can we learn from creative writing for business purposes? Is there any link? Yes, because it's all about kind of stories. So the best brands are built on great stories. So the Chief Marketing Officer of Virgin Group. A Nielsen study, and I think it's just someone we really know, we didn't need to study for it. People tend to learn from their peers and friends rather than marketing materials. So you need to speak to them rather than like marketing machines, and more like friends, so telling stories and sharing experiences. On average, we see around 5,000 ads per day, and around 12 of them make an impression. So you've really got to cut through in some way. Here's 3 definitions of poetry that I think can be applied to business comms as well. Poetry is the best words in the best order. You shouldn't just chuck anything on your copy. It needs to be the right words chosen with purpose. The art of using words charged with their utmost meaning. If something doesn't have meaning, why are you writing it? Really, what's the point? Edit it out. I was working with a copywriter quite recently who was going through some of my stuff, and he was like, you just got to Hemingway the shit out of this. Like, honestly, if it doesn't matter, if it's not saying something, get rid of it. Poetry is that which arrives at the intellect by way of the heart. We all engage with things primarily through our heart, through our emotion, rather than through our head. So you've got to connect with people in that way. And it is all about connection, because brands are represented by everything that makes up a company. And that's the things like the obvious tangible components, but also the more abstract emotional associations. So you need to think quite broadly about how you connect. And using creativity opens up different ways of thinking. You become a brand or business that's innovative and expansive rather than stuck with the status quo. Ultimately, all relationships, and that includes business relationships, are about connection. When someone likes you or thinks you've got something to offer, they're going to be prepared to invest their time or their money in you. And customers can't connect with inanimate objects, so you've got to have some personality. What's your brand? What makes you different to everyone else? How do you speak and act? Bring this personality to all your writing. And yes, you might have to be professional, but it doesn't have to be at the expense of emotional. People do buy from people, so bring your emotion to work. So the first thing you've really got to do is tell your story. And quite often I get people to do an exercise around free writing, because this helps them understand their why. So what's their purpose? Because you need to know who you are before you know how to speak and communicate. People will draw connections and conclusions about your brand's personality, make inferences about what your personality says about you. So you've got to find and express your story. What effect do you have or intend to have on your customers? So here you might think about why you're here, how did you start, what do you want to do, impact, personality, and what makes you different. What do you want people to think, what do you want them to feel, and what do you want them to do at the end of the day after interacting with you? And that's your personality, and that's what becomes the character of your business. So characters are absolutely crucial, and any novelist knows that you should know everything about your character, even that stuff which seems irrelevant to the writing at hand. So they'll have a bank of information and detailed character sketches, some of which might never make it into a story. And you've got to do the same for your reader. So, and that reader is your customer. So what's their name? What's in their handbag? Do they wake up early or late? What do they do on a Sunday afternoon? Do they prefer cryptic crosswords or Sudoku? And only when you know your reader and customers, you know what matters to them. And that's how you can connect with them. Because as great as a company might think their product is, or an agency may think people are passionate about something, the truth is it's always about the person and what's in it for them. So you've got to understand who they are and what they want. I often think about, and I'll come back to this a little bit to it later. I remember working with a company when I used to work for Tesco, and they were like, people love our bleach. Like, our bleach is amazing because it's got all these chemicals in. No, people don't care about your bleach. What they care about is having a really clean kitchen so they can sit down with their family at the end of the day and spend a nice meal together. That's what they care about. They care about the family connection. And you've got to kind of go through these processes to understand who your character is or your customer is and get to know them. And that's when your brand story will come alive. So all of these questions are things you've got to think about. And then you've got to, I'm racing through this, sorry guys. Then you've got to take people on something of an emotional journey. And you might have heard of the story arc. So for storytelling to captivate, you need to know the arc of storytelling and immerse people in your tale. So that starts in introduction, where you sort of set the scene. So who's the character? What's normal for them? Describe what's happening. And then there's a challenge. They're in some kind of difficulty. What's happened? That's when they start to get frustrated. So it's that rising tension. What impact does having that difficulty have on their daily life? And, in business, you'll think of this as their pain points. As a climax, it gets too much. They've just got to solve the issue. And that's when they start looking around for a product to buy or an agency to deal with. Resolve that action. They come to you. They engage with you. Why are they choosing you? How can you help them? And then there's resolution. So life carries on, but a bit better than before. So how did your product help them? So you set the scene. What's normal? You look at the difficulty, that frustration, that's their pain point. They come in, you come in, and then life carries on. So going back to our sort of bleach example, they're cooking dinner and the kitchen's a mess. It's really frustrating and they need to clean up, but they just don't have the time. They're getting irritated, the kids have got swimming, the partner's late home from work, there's too much to do. It's just all too much, but it's okay because they got your bleach, it acts fast, cuts you in the mess, and it takes a safe place to cook dinner for the people they care about the most. So when you're thinking about your customer and when they're using your agency or your product, you've also got to think about not only that moment of engagement, but before and after. So how does your business transform someone's life and fit into their story? How does it sit in their story arc? So, I really have rattled through, but basically there's a lot to learn from creative writing. You've got to develop content that has a human element, because all business is ultimately about people. And And when you understand that, you can know how to keep it really simple, because the best brands are simple. If we think about some of these slogans, so Subway, eat fresh, Kit Kat, have a break, we've got Just Do It from Nike, Tesco, every little helps. They've spent years kind of honing their brands, understanding their customer and what it is that works for them. So again, you know, chocolate's very nice, but actually it's about taking a break. Like trainers are cool, but it's about kind of that empowerment. Tesco, no one loves going to the supermarket, except at the moment when it's like the only thing you can do. But they're helpful, they're useful. So it's really understanding how you fit into their lives. One of the things I often get people to do here is write a haiku. So taking your free write and all the information you've got, can you use your brand story and really just in 3 lines summarize it down? So it's essentially a sales pitch, but I think a haiku is a slightly more poetic way of thinking about it. So in summary, words obviously matter. You've got to develop content that has a human element, because all business is about people. So be sincere, engage with the heart and then the head. That emotion does matter. Have a personality, bring that to work. Ask yourself if you're genuinely interested in reading or watching it. Don't just put stuff out. Know what connects your customers to you. Stories have heroes and characters who have unfulfilled desires. How do you fulfill your customers' needs? Keep it simple. You should be able to describe a story in 1 line, and be active. What is it that you want your customers to do as a result? How are you engaging with them, understanding them, and fulfilling their emotional needs? And I think the reason that there's a lot to be learned from creative writing is that creative writing and stories and novels are all about connecting with humans. And ultimately, all business is about people. And if you want to know more about me, that is me. So hopefully that explains a little bit why my link between poetry and business copywriting wasn't quite so random. And essentially it does come down to people, and we are all people.
Really good. You did breeze through it, Francesca, but that was fantastic. So
Guys.
Very, very insightful. So yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll save the questions for a bit later on, because we've got Ben to come next.
That it's presenting the right one, isn't it? There we go. Okay, perfect. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Awesome. That makes life 1,000 times easier, because obviously you can see what I'm talking about. So that is always a good start. So today, obviously the theme of today is all about writing effectively and creatively for your business and website, and just writing creatively in general. So we decided to go for more of an SEO overlook, but also just kind of how to do that moving forward. So a little bit about myself. My name is Ben Abbott. Some of you have met me previously. I run an agency previously, so I've met quite a few of you. And I've been brought on board to work with Sleeping Giant Media to help launch a Spark brand. So it's called the Spark Agency, and it's for businesses who have typically tighter marketing budgets, just to help them grow and take it off of their to-do list. So whilst I do have you for 5 seconds, Sleeping Giant Media, actually, you've almost certainly heard of it if you're in Kent. It's a large agency, and they've been around for almost 13 years now over in Folkestone. They've worked on some giant accounts, implementing digital marketing strategies. And then we have the Spark Agency, which is the new section of that brand as well. It gives you a bit more of a taking it off your to-do list vibe, and it's still new, but we are still working on the website as well. So don't judge us too much. It will be here. So I will be able to have a little bit more information to share with you all from that point onwards. So for some reason, there we go. That's better. So I couldn't click it and it wasn't working. So I'm actually here today to talk to you about writing effectively. So we want you to write effectively, but we also want you to write creatively at the same time. So what I'm going to tell you isn't revolutionary, if I can say that word correctly. It's late. It's been a long day today. And we've already heard some really great information from Francesca as well. There's just about diving into that a little bit more, the human element of creative writing and helping people to understand what that is. So your ability to write creatively and effectively is a learnt skill, and it does require practice. So all that I'm going to tell you today is more of a reminder just a constant echo in your head. So you can see the bright yellow and my dulcet tones, and it will ring true in your mind that when you think of creative writing, you'll just start to consider some best practices when you start your next piece. So obviously I'm from a search marketing agency, so my focus on the effective part of writing is the SEO. And that is the search engine optimization, for those of you who don't know. Ensuring your content appears where and when it should for your audience. So creative writing and SEO can seem like two things that don't really go hand in hand. And sometimes that can be the case, but it depends on how you do it. So to start with, creative writing is all about being, well, creative, which is a great starting point. When it comes to writing for SEO, it becomes a little bit more functional. That's better, less clicking. To many, it can seem a little bit counterintuitive to pair the two, and it's a little bit restrictive as well in the way that we do things. So in some instances, telling a writer that they must include certain keywords, they must structure in a certain way, is only going to end in a huff and a puff. But the question that will always ring true, the one that will magically pair the two together, is what's the point in writing great content if no one's going to see or read it? Well, the answer is none. There is no point if nobody's going to see or read it, unless that's your objective. And it is a little bit of a strange objective, especially if you're in business. You want people to see and read what it is you're doing. And there are activities that you can do on a more personal level, but we're focusing on the business SEO aspect. So you want people to be able to see and read what it is that you're doing. So you want your writing, your hard work to be seen by the people it was written for. And that's an absolute given for the most part, whether that's a small niche audience or just something for everybody. So now you can write functional content till the cows come home about your product, service, or any other thing really. And yes, if done well, properly researched and effort, you're making some effort into it, it will be seen by the people that you want it to be seen by. But if it's not done creatively, then you'll easily just bore the audience that you're trying to contact, potentially lose them, or even just alienate them completely from your brand. It's really easy for many people to lose the concept of creativity when it comes to writing functionally for the likes of a website or for SEO. There's tick boxes of things to do right, things to include, headers to place, and God knows what else. And following these processes can very easily trap people into thinking a very specific way. And it's nothing to worry about. Everybody does it, but so do your competitors. And the thing that stands you out from them is thinking creatively. So writing things like your brand's tone of voice into your copy. Whether it's cheeky, a little bit more corporate, or something completely random. And there's some great examples on social media at the moment. I'm not sure if you saw the Burger King tweet that recently got taken down, and they tried to go for a bit more of a cheeky tone of voice on International Women's Day. It didn't go so well for them, and it got removed pretty quickly after. The first tweet was "Women belong in the kitchen," and they had a following number of tweets that explained the reasoning behind the tweet, but I think it was so misjudged. And it was to do with getting more chefs, women chefs in the kitchen, which is a very low percentage, but it was just done the wrong way. So you need to be a little bit more creative with what you do, but within the boundaries. But you also need to make sure it's not just keywords or copy for SEO's sake, because then it looks like you're writing solely for that purpose, that you're trying to increase your brand on SEO, which is great. But then when people read it, it sounds more robotic. You need this to be creative and entertaining, to really enthuse your audience and subtly convince them to take the action that you desperately want them to take. You also want to remember that there's another human being at the end of the screen. You're not putting it out into the ether and nobody's reading it. Another person just like you is completely understanding, well, hopefully understanding what it is you're trying to get out into the world. So yes, in order to be functional, you need to appease the search algorithms and the search engine robots, but you also need to focus on the people, the ones who will actually do the things that you want them to do. Everyone's writing style is different. But as a test, and I'm not going to make you do this right now, it's the evening, you've probably had a beer at this point or any form of other drink, but maybe tomorrow, just try and write one piece of content twice. So one for functional SEO purposes, so you're writing it for the robots, and then one for people only. So don't worry about headers, don't worry about keywords, just write something that they want to hear. See where the two pieces of content differ, what you can change, and then try to merge them. Is that legible? Does it even read correctly? Is it too over the top? So there's a few key points to combining the creative and the functional side of copywriting. And it comes in things like being natural, purposeful, and relevant. Don't write things that have absolutely nothing to do with your brand or your content pillars. I cannot stress this enough. Please don't just talk about random things because it's good to do so, or you think it's good to do so. It isn't. It seems very strange when people read it on your website, and it takes you completely out of what it is that you're trying to say. But do write about the topics that you know, the things that you're comfortable with, and what your research has achieved, so you can start to become a thought leader in a specific topic. Thought leaders are fantastic, but you don't want to copy everybody else. So I'm sure that there are many occasions where something has gone really well and you want to jump on that instantly, but it might not necessarily be the correct thing for your brand or just your business in general. Look at what you can do differently to stand out from these people. It might even be as simple as getting creative with a page title, but don't forget to look for the little treasures too. The things that people are really writing about, but it's still relevant for your business. Someone will search one day, and if you're there for them, you get the brownie points. Add value from the get-go with what your audience want to hear, and then give them options for more for the future. Answer any question they have so that they don't need to go anywhere else. Every question that you want to be answering as a business should always be available to your customer base. But again, more things that you can do effectively with your copy, but adding a creative twist and not just letting it be a little bit wham bam, thank you, ma'am, which is always a strange saying, but I think it's perfect for this. It's just, you don't want it to be just there, one and done. You need to be authoritative, comprehensible, and have all the answers. Be that thought leader. Make them know you know. And that's the biggest difficulty with creative writing. And one thing that businesses really struggle, and it's just a business trope in general, is that you don't necessarily put across that you are as an expert in your field or as much of an expert in your field as you truly are. And being able to communicate that a lot better will get you better results. So you can satisfy their every desire for the Google robots, but one Google search and it actually comes up, and you can, if it's legible, written for humans, and it's readable as well, people will go and get that, and that's how you generate more traffic to your website as well. But considering those things, practice with different drafts, and eventually you'll find a great mix of creative and SEO. Writing things like your service pages, landing pages, and then just keep it up. And we mentioned in the kind of conversation in the break earlier on about just making little changes to the website as you go along, and that can be pretty difficult. But once you've got the foundation of your content set, it can actually be quite simple. You just make little changes here and there, just touching up different keywords or focusing on different areas, and it becomes a lot more or a lot less of a job, I should say. There are a few things that make creative writing really awesome, and that's things like some great ideas, some story narratives, compellingness, and there's no reason that you can't implement that into some functional web pages as well. And it's similar to what Francesca said earlier on about, the arc of the story, is that there's no reason why you can't have that in your creative content for your website as well. The service page that can explain the pros and the garage doors just doesn't have to be a page that's exclaiming how great your garage doors are. It can be a little bit more of a journey, a story, a great customer example of a story where your garage doors may have changed their life. You need to put them in the shoes of somebody who's already performed the action you want them to, and it will push them to actually convert as well into a lead because they feel emotionally connected with your brand. We have an oversaturated world, full of content, full of multiple businesses, and you, for the most part, it's very rare that you are ever on your own in business. There is always somebody that is doing something similar or identical to what it is that you do. So you have to stand out and go above and beyond. I'm sure you've heard this 100 times, and it's like the most cliche thing in business to just say, well, go the extra mile. But this is just a gentle reminder that a world with so much online competition, you need a beginning, a middle, and an end to your story for your business. It is back to school with this one, but a quick reminder that with every great piece of writing, you should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And this is the stuff that we learned back in school as well. It's just, you know, a general story arc. This is more of an SEO piece about how to, you know, how to fit that within the writing piece. So you need to include a title, which is the H1, a subtitle, which is the H2. And that lets the reader know what to expect. You also have the ability to include keywords, the names, the nouns related to the thing you're writing about. Imagine a whole piece about Harry Potter that never actually mentions Harry Potter. You want to know that you're reading about what it is that you are there to read about. Conclude the piece, summarize what happened, what they've read, leave them wanting more, but satisfy their hunger at the same time. It's the same with a cliffhanger, really. Just make it juicy. So with this, make sure that you answer the question and give them all the information that they seek, but play on the fact that they might have learnt something new and want to pursue that further. For example, add a link to another page to learn a bit more about the subtopic and actually start to get them through your site. Start making those connections, because if you have another article that's been made to something similar, you can then start generating the, you know, the journey of a lead through your website, and it's more likely to convert at that point. So you need to marry together basics of storytelling and writing the best practice with functionality, and hey presto, you've got yourself a price that doesn't. You've got yourself a piece that doesn't compare to your competitors. It's a little bit different, and I love Friends as well, so this is a great little GIF in the background there. But I'm going to leave you now with 6 things to think about when you go write your next piece of a blog, a web page, a service page, or something. And I'm sure you're going to do this first thing tomorrow morning, because tonight has been so excellent. And, you know, Francesca and I have filled you with utter joy at the thought of writing some great new content. So we're going to leave you with these to start you on your journey tomorrow morning. So you need some ideas. So you need a main idea, the details, examples, proof, purpose. What's the main idea on the topic? What are the details? What are the things that somebody needs to know? Have you got any examples or proof that show that you're actually able to do this thing? And what's the purpose of the piece of your of writing that you're actually doing? Why is it that you're actually going above and beyond to do this thing? The organization of it. So make it logical. Make sure what you're writing is organized. It won't take someone off on 6 different tangents, but will actually make them, well, it will take them from beginning to middle to end, and succinctly as well. It's not going off all over the place. And it's, you know, satiating that desire for a 3-point conclusive narrative in our head. So every story that you're telling always has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You also have a voice. So make sure your writing is unique to you and your company. If you have a tone of voice that is set across social media, or you have a tone of voice that is set across your brand in general, even if it's just you that runs your business, how do you speak? How would you address this situation? And what type of tonality do you have in a conversation? Are you more corporate or a little bit more laid back? So it has to be unique. That tone of voice needs to be congruent. So it needs to be the same all across every platform that you go to. So there's a couple of examples that if you looked at it, that you could pick out somebody's tone of voice without even noticing. So there's some great examples locally. So for example, Knowlton are a great agency locally, and you can see some of their LinkedIn content, and actually, you know, it's Knowlton instantly because they're a bit more tongue in cheek. It's a little bit more of a joke, and you can understand that that is their brand's tone of voice. It's something you can pick out of the crowd pretty quickly. But please, as the warning with Burger King, make sure it's appropriate. because there are some things that can be very controversial and would actually harm your business rather than help it. But it needs to make sure that it's appropriate to your audience. So if you are a little bit more controversial in the way that you do business, then maybe that's the audience for you, but just make sure it's congruent all across and not somebody else's. You're not copying from somebody else. You're not taking somebody else's tone of voice. The word choice is interesting, to say the least. You need to use words that matter. Include keywords from your research. Keyword research is a staple in SEO. It's about understanding who it is that you're targeting and what it is that they're searching for. But it needs to be functional, and so it will appear in the search engines as well. You need to reassure the reader that they're actually reading about the right thing. So when you're looking for something specific, you need to know that that is being given to them. And use a memorable language, such as descriptors that are really unique to your sales patter or tone. So if you have, so for example, I catch myself saying awesome all of the time, and I don't know why, but I keep doing it. So it's like, okay, that's awesome. So it's just the way that you would typically have that tone of voice in your conversation. And it goes to the way that you're wording your blogs as well, and any content that you're doing, really. But don't overcomplicate it using big words. Keep it simple, keep it appropriate. Sentence fluency is always important. Humans read this, and that's the biggest recommendation that I can give to any SEO project, any content that you're writing. Please just remember that there is a human at the other side that has to read it. So if you're trying to pander to the search engine robots, it just won't. Don't get caught up in keyword shuffling and trying to force keywords into something that doesn't need to be there. Make it sure so that people will actually read the content, and Google will reward you in turn. It's just about knowing the process of that and getting more comfortable. Break up the text, because we're not reading a book. It needs to be easy to read and a little bit more digestible. If you're reading, the first time you open a page and it's got 1,000 words on it, you start to panic a little bit because it's like, that is a lot. I'm not even sure if I'm going to have the time to read this. As business owners, people are very busy. And if you had a 5-page document, unless you're super interested, it's not necessarily likely that you're going to sit down and read all of it. People's attention spans are minimal at the best of times, and especially on the internet. A lot of us like to skim read posts. So signpost everything where you can on your page. If there's a great piece of information, make sure you're directing people to it. And finally, just conventions. So punctuation, capitalization, paragraphing, all of the good stuff that would typically make it real to a human being and not necessarily a robot. You'll appease no one if you can't do these. So the robots and the people won't love you if you can't just get basic grammar within that. Use the tools at your disposal. There's apps like Grammarly that are really great at this, that are completely free, that just give you a little notification if something's wrong. I do it all the time, especially in emails. It's like, actually, a comma shouldn't go there. And I'm like, okay, I'll change it. It's fine. So it just makes it a little bit more of a comfortable conversation when you're going towards people. And sometimes grammar can get in the way of making a really succinct point, and you don't want to take that down by failing to remove the poor grammar or spelling. Especially spelling. Please spell check absolutely everything on your content. People do pick up on stuff like that. I've done it myself. It's embarrassing. Just save yourself the hassle. But yeah, always double check your work. That is vital for any content that you're doing in SEO. Like I said, there's nothing really new about this. Most of this we learned at school in English or any type of like language study. It's quite basic in the way that people just read. And we know from our own experiences that reading websites or online copy, we get used to how it's performed. But it does all stem back to making sure your hard work gets seen. You've got to be creative to stand out in a functional world, and you've got to be functional to be seen. It's about marrying the two. And we're now kind of going on to questions anyway. So thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, Ben. That was awesome. Francesca and Ben, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to put those presentations together. Thank you everybody else for being here tonight. I'm just going to share my screen very, very quickly, and then we'll just sort of finish on our finishing slides so you guys can see what's coming up. Yeah, like as Chantel mentioned earlier, if anyone's looking to speak at one of our events, you can email Chantel directly at chantel@supersonicplayground.com. We've got our SurveyMonkey link there. If you can, just take time out of your day if you've not done it yet. It's surveymonkey.com/r/YBR2SV3. And if you want to contact Francesca or Ben, you can maybe take a screenshot or write down their details there. If you want to get in contact with them, telephone numbers, email addresses. I'll let that sound on the screen just for a minute, just in case you guys do want to.
My email address isn't on there, but I will pop it in the chat, and it's on my website anyway.
Yeah, perfect. So. Okay. So if you guys want to screenshot that or just write that down. Does anybody want me to keep that on for a couple more seconds?
In the chat.
That's okay.
Everything's in the chat. Okay, perfect. Coming up events. So we've got on the 7th of April, we've got what would normally be the Medway KDM with guys at Clockwork Moggy. On the 21st of April, we've got what would normally be the Ashford KDM with Aaron and the guys at 6.2. And then we're back on the 5th of May with our next KDM presentation. It's not far away. But apart from that, I think that wraps everything up. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your time this evening and have a lovely evening. And we will see you again soon.